Today, we're getting a much clearer picture of just how much President Donald Trump and his family have been profiting in many ways since Trump's return to the White House. We're going to walk you through multiple examples, starting with President Trump's newly released 2025 financial disclosure, required by the Ethics in Government Act of 1978, that shows his total income for 2025 exceeded $2.2 billion. That is up from $622 million in 2024, before he returned to the White House. This 927-page report is a staggering look at President Trump's growing fortune made while he's president through cryptocurrency holdings, royalty payments, property investments, and much more. Now, Trump's total crypto earnings alone totaled about $1.4 billion during his first year back in office. $1.4 billion with a B. And it's important to note, President Trump began making cryptocurrency regulations, or the lack thereof, a big part of his presidency. Some of the crypto earnings on the financial disclosure include more than $526 million from sales of cryptocurrency tokens tied to World Liberty Financial, LLC, which is managed in part by his sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr. Also, an agreement with Celebration Coins paid Trump $635 million. This is thought to be behind the Trump meme coin, which has plunged in value since he launched it days before taking office. After Trump and co. sold them, they plunged from a high of $74.27 to their current value around $1.70, according to Coinbase. Another big source of money is Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club, obviously a destination since you might be able to see or even pitch an idea to the president. Mar-a-Lago generated $77 million alone in resort-related revenue. That's up from about $50 million last year. Then there's more of the deals that Trump struck to lend his name to random products and ventures, which lead to huge royalties and licensing fees, such as Trump watches generated $4.7 million in royalties. Don't forget the $208,000 related to a Bible that the president frequently promoted, plus $67,634 for Trump sneakers and fragrances. What exactly is a Trump fragrance? You don't know. Aside from business ventures, Trump's financial disclosure also includes gifts and his various quote-unquote settlements with social media companies and news organizations whom he sued or threatened to. $8 million from Twitter or X after Elon Musk settled with Trump last February. $16 million each from ABC and from CBS, donated to the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library Foundation, of course. $24.5 million from Facebook parent company Meta, also donated to the Trump Library. $22 million from YouTube, given to the Trust for the National Mall. In terms of Trump's actual profit-making, it is unprecedented for a sitting president. And it's drawn criticism from opponents and others who say there are multiple conflicts of interest. The White House denies that, and today Trump downplayed any concerns that he could be profiting off the presidency.
Mr. President, your financial disclosure shows you had a very lucrative year last year. What message does this send to average Americans, especially those who may be struggling right now financially?
I don't get involved in my personal. We have funds that run my money.
To critics who say you're profiting off the presidency, Mr.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting.
The stock market is not why he made $2.2 billion last year. Now, the financial disclosure that he filed, as he's required to do by law, that's only part of the picture, of course. Trump has promoted businesses and policies that stand to benefit both himself and his family members. And, of course, his family members have businesses of their own. The most obvious source of Trump family profiting comes from cryptocurrency, as I mentioned, and Trump's vocal support for the cryptocurrency industry. In addition to the $526 million for cryptocurrency tokens tied to the firm managed in part by Eric and Don Jr., First Lady Melania Trump also made $6 million from the sale of a non-fungible token, or NFT. It's a type of cryptocurrency. Last night, a former member of Trump's legal team, Ty Cobb, gave his assessment of what's going on to CNN's Aaron Burnett.
It's a slimy industry. Certainly the way he's going around it, where he creates policies that can only enrich himself and his family, is something that I think the average American should be staggered by. But you mentioned the scale, and I think the scale here is just, it's intentional.
Also earlier this week, the typically Trump-friendly New York Post, owned by Rupert Murdoch, called out the president and Eric and Don Jr., writing, quote, "Insider deals, finder's fees, backdoor introductions to family members are business as usual in third world banana republics. But these slimy practices have now been normalized in the White House to the shame of the nation." Again, that's the New York Post. The Post went on to reference the billion-dollar tungsten mining deal that we told you about a few weeks ago that Eric and Don Jr. are tied to. It's one that the U.S. government is partly financing in Kazakhstan, with President Trump calling into the meeting in which the deal was finalized. The Post writing, quote, "The Trump sons, meanwhile, are part owners or investors in companies neck deep in a key defense contract to mine tungsten reserves in Central Asia. It stinks to high heaven," unquote. Again, the Trump-friendly New York Post. In statements to the New York Times and the White House, the White House and the Commerce Department rejected any suggestion that the Trump administration was improperly combining government actions with family business. And of course, many who have signed deals with Trump family members and companies have business before the government. That includes Elon Musk and other billionaires who have benefited from regulatory decisions that President Trump oversees. I'm sorry, Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. So there's family and friends, and then, of course, there's foreign governments who by now know how to play the Trump game, hoping to gain a favorable position with the Trump administration by spending billions of dollars, sometimes in cash, sometimes investments in crypto, or even, as we saw today, a plane. Today, President Trump is in North Dakota for the opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library after taking the inaugural flight on the brand new Air Force One, a luxury jet donated by the government of Qatar. Reports have put the value of the plane around $400 million. This massive gift, to end all gifts, was formally given to the Pentagon, though it is expected to exit the administration along with Mr. Trump and head to Florida along with Mr. Trump. A source telling CNN that the plan was for the aircraft to be donated to Trump's presidential library. We'll see. Critics have raised several legal, ethical, and even national security concerns over a U.S. president accepting such a massive foreign gift. Today, President Trump said the U.S. couldn't build a plane like this because we wouldn't be willing to spend that kind of money.
This was a gift from a country that's treated us very well. I went to Qatar. I said I'd like to use it for a period of time because the other ones, as you know, are under construction. They'll be here in 2 years. And because, you know, the plane is 35 years old. So I said I'd like to use it. And the Emir, Tamim, who's a great gentleman, he said, no, I'd like to make a contribution to the country.
What a guy, that Emir. What a guy. And while Trump is happy to receive these gifts of questionable origin, we should note he's also happy to complain about giving. Back in February, he said that he gets no credit for donating his presidential salary, which amounts to what's basically pocket change, $400,000 a year.
In the history of our country, there's never been a president that waived his salary. I'm the only schmuck. I get no credit for it. You know what? I get no credit for it. Nobody ever writes about it.
Okay, a couple things. Regardless of whether or not he's a schmuck, he's not the only president who donated his salary. Herbert Hoover did. John F. Kennedy did as well. Second point, Trump's tax documents from 2020, his last full year in office in his first term, showed that he reported $0 in charitable giving. Zero. But now he wants credit for donating $400,000 while his presidential position allows him to rake in more than $2 billion? And what about Congress? Where are they in any of this? So many of the same people who criticized President Obama for barely profiting on book sales when he was president, or the people who investigated the Biden family for their alleged profiting off the vice presidency and presidency, they are silent today. They have nothing to say. Nothing. It is crickets. So one can only conclude this is now a precedent that is being set. Because why would any future president not just cash in as much as possible? We are a long way from 1900, when Teddy Roosevelt wrote in an essay, quote, "No man who is corrupt, no man who condones corruption in others, can possibly do his duty